welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV, where we are back into Leonel to begin another role quest, namely the one for the magic DPS, or mage, simply. And we begin here with Tsui. Power Forgotten. Oh, hello. Did Book ever send you to help recover our stolen treasure? He did? Thank the heavens, and judging by your accompaniment, you've learned in the arcane arts, yes? If so, we need your power and wisdom. You got it. Truth be told, it is wisdom we require most. You see, even though the treasure has been garnered by our people for generations, we know little of its true nature. What do you mean? In ages past, the forests of our homeland were plagued with terrible beasts, a constant source of fear and danger. To combat this menace, our mages spent many moons researching the treasure, known as the Perge of the Apex. Upon unlocking its secrets, they were able to drive the monsters from woods, bringing peace at last. With the threat all but eradicated, our forebears forbade any further use of the treasure, and enshrined it within the village. As the years passed, we slowly forgot what it was to live in fear, yet as our struggles faded into memory, stories surrounding the Perge of the Apex became legend, then myth. Now none living are certain of its true power. Yet the peace was shattered by a member of the Passage of the Unbound. The villain wheedled his way into our trust, and stole upon my husband, the treasure's appointed guardian, catching him unaware with a terrible blow that left him unconscious. He's yet to awaken, so my daughter Tepeke has set forth to retrieve what was stolen. Unlike her father, she has no skill in the arcane arts, and chose the path of the sword. That's why I've been seeking someone with the knowledge she lacks, should the ancient power be unleashed. Please, if you can find it in your heart to help Tepeke, I would be forever grateful. If there's a mystic artifact involved, count me in. Oh, thank you, thank you! Now, our only clue to the thief's whereabouts is from something he mentioned during his stay in our village. He spoke of his desire to bring change to a place called Razatan. That is where Tepeke decided to begin her search, so she boarded a ferry bound there, by way of Limsa Lominsa, with her trusted sword and shield close at hand. That's how we know her. She agreed to stay in Razatan to gather information until aid arrived. I know nothing of a place, and it's likely she can be found in the marketplace or some such. Please, bring our treasure and my daughter safely home. Alright. Bit lacking the description, right? Mikoto woman with sword and shield? Somewhere in Razatan? Okay, let's see what we can find. Turali Swordswoman. That was quick. Oh, are you looking for me? Whatsoever for? Your mother asked me to help you. Tezuri, did you say my mother sent you? I take it she's already explained the details, such as how we know next to nothing of a treasure and its capabilities? We've only the legends passed down through our forebears to go on. They speak of a Tural Vidral of an owl that once terrorized the forests, whose soul is sealed within the Perge of the Apex. The tales have only become more vague as the mist of time obscures the treasure's origin. Even our village's eldest remember naught but an ominous warning, ushered by those who once wielded its magics. The master of the Apex shall be showered with good fortune It leave only sorrow in their wake. It's clear that despite owing their safety to the Apex's power, our Fairburst would as something to be feared. It must truly be immense. Now, on the matter of a thief. Even during our brief acquaintance, he made plain his desire to bring change to Azatan. Naturally, I've started my search here, and have been seeking anyone who expressed dissatisfaction of the status quo. Sure enough, I soon heard stories of a recent arrival, a self-styled savior of Razatan, who proclaims that he will lead the city to greatness and call himself a Justiciar. Alright. He's apparently taken on the burden of personally exterminating the beasts which infest Thavnair's wilds. He made a great show of claiming he alone is equal to the task. While he certainly draws a crowd with his boasting, they only watch him with morbid curiosity as he sets off into the jungle alone. I realize this could have nothing to do with our problem, but even the smallest lead must be pursued. I've heard he often gives his speeches at the region's smaller settlements, so shall we go and see this Justiciar for ourselves? Sure. It's decided. I hear Yedlimat would be a good place to start. Hopefully where we can find our next crumb of a clue. Alright, then off to Yedlimat. Good. Now, Tepeke, where are you? So, did the airfreight always glow this pretty? I think they improved the graphics. Well, of course they improved some graphics, but I think the graphic update really helped the airfreight. Anyway, there. There's a in luck. These boys are the very men we seek. It seems he gave the same grand speech about saving the people, claiming that danger lurked nearby before venturing forth to combat it alone. Yet the Radiant Horse could not well stand idle if there truly were beasts afoot, so one of them followed him. All we need to do is pick up the trail. He went toward the shroud, but you might be able to spot him from Kadyaya's footsteps. You can see the whole forest from there. Thanks, you've been very helpful. So does we. Let's head there and see what we can see. Now then, let us begin our search. Since we've never actually seen the Justiciar, I suggest we find the Radiant Host soldier first. They do all wear similar armor after all. Send text. And searching menu. Whatever it isn't moving anymore. Could it be one of the fiends that Justiciar is after? That must be him, but what happened? We better get down there quickly. Not to worry, Desiree. He's unconscious but otherwise appears unharmed. Stones? What happened? We heard you came here in pursuit of a Justiciar. Do you remember anything? Yes, I eventually found him. He was confronting that fiend, but now is dead. At last, the Justiciar graces the town. I shall bring unending peace to this beleaguered land. You are brave to follow my path. Few indeed possess the mettle to even consider the terrors which threaten our home, let alone stand against them. Yet courageous though you may be, you are far too weak to fell a beast so mighty. Quit this place with your life while you are yet able. I'm of a radiant host. If I ran from such meager prey, it would become a laughing stock. How bold to look death in the eye without flinching. I doubt not you have conviction to defend Roxatan, but I believe it pales before mine. O Apex, bestow upon me your divine might! Do you not heed my call? I require power more than ever! Is something supposed to happen? Why? Am I yet unworthy? Or maybe there's a button I must press? This is not what I expected. Then decide I dispose of this pest. Just give me a moment. It cannot end like this. I won't be made a fool. Come on, you moldy trinket, work! Transform me into the hero of Roxatan! Clonk. He brandished that idol and became wreathed in a mysterious light. Then boulders started falling from the sky. Down they came, one after another. That's when I must have been struck unconscious. I recall only faintly, but I think I heard the man mumbling, quite excitedly, as if he had come upon a sudden revelation, or as if he was overtaken by madness. It seems he got away unscathed. Either he had an incredible stroke of luck, or whatever he was beseeching to actually answered. Then it is as I suspected. This Justiciar is the self-same thief who stole the Perge of the Apex. Seems so. But no doubt he's long departed from here. First I escort this fellow back to Yedlimat and keep a close eye on him. Head wounds can have dreadful after effects. Alright, meet you there. The soldier made his way to Roxatan to make a formal report. What an odd report it will be. His account seemed to align with legends of the treasure's powers. The wielder escaped unharmed and brought ruin to those around him. Could those fallen rocks have been a freak accident? I'm not so sure. You won't believe that he came back! Who came back? The Justiciar? Yes, not long after you left. He said he beat up a monster that knocked out the Radiant, and he was laughing his head off. Did he really do that? Is he stronger than the Radiants? Whatever he did, the monster was slain, I suppose. Well, my mate can't stop talking about him. He wants to be just like the Justiciar. His mom and dad weren't happy about that, though. I'd advise you and your friend to look for a different role model, but we thank you for telling us what happened. Bye. Well, there is one less fiend skulking about, I suppose. He may have been simply testing the treasure's capabilities. As far as we know, he's yet to use its power for evil ends. I find his motivations a mystery. To steal the Perge of the Apex by force only to come here to Thavnair and use it for good? Makes no sense. You've heard tell of his patches of the Unbound, yes? Many have ventured to Toliola claiming to be their victims. Yet here they would be saviors? If he had such noble goals, then why did he stoop to such devious deceptions? What could he be plotting? I don't know. But that's neither here nor there. He stole from my people, and that misdeed can't be forgiven. The Perge of the Apex helped us win peace. By its might, our forebears built the foundation of the lives we now lead. Until recently, it stood silent, a symbol of our pride as a people. It reminded us that we carved out a home within that inhospitable wilderness. Being trusted with its protection is a great honor. I was so proud of my father when the elders chose him. So proud to be his daughter. Yet since the day it was stolen, some of the other villagers make their disdain toward him only too clear. I couldn't bear it. That's why I must get it back, to restore my village's pride and my father's reputation. Alright. There's still so much we don't know about the Justiciar, but we have to assume he's learned to wield Apex's power. I can't say that those falling rocks have anything to do with it, but I won't discount it outright. I'll continue looking into his whereabouts. We still have many questions. With both of us working together, we'll find answers soon enough. You can count on me. Okay. Now with his theatrics, it almost seemed like he wants to be famous or something. A brand of justice. Not this way. I'm afraid there has been some developments that are less than encouraging. News of his Justiciar's actions have spread throughout the city, and with each retelling his deeds become more valorous. The younger citizens in particular seem to view him as something of an idol. Despite the creature he hunts posing no real danger, he would paint them as mighty beasts in need of felling. Of course, the Radiant hosts are far too busy to trouble themselves culling every pest that casts a sideway glance at the city gates. Yet the Justiciar has twisted circumstances to his advantage. He proclaims to anyone who will listen that the Radiant hosts shrink with terror before these beasts, that he's the only one who can eradicate them. Though you might expect such claims to be dismissed as wild ramblings, it seems no few people have fallen for his ploy. The whispers of his exploits among the youth have practically grown into a clamor. Yet we mustn't be discouraged, for his increasing fame only makes it easier for us to sniff out his trail, and we're better to start with Razatan. I see you there, Desiree. Alright, and back to Razatan we go. Given how large the city is, let's split up and cover more ground. I already have a destination in mind, the High Crucible. Here the alchemists that can concoct all manner of tinctures and powders, including those which help in detecting traces of energies left behind by magics and enchanted tools. Fallen Rooks have invariably marked locations where the Justiciar has performed one of his feats, and I believe an alchemical mixture can help us determine if their presence is the work of a treasure. I'm hardly an expert in such concoctions though, so I seek advice at the High Crucible. While I'm doing that, I would ask that you go to the Hall of the Radiant Host and see if they have any news on the Justiciar's whereabouts. Does that plan sound agreeable to you? Great. Now that you both have our tasks, let us get to them. I'll meet you back here once my business is done. Good. Let's ask around. And apparently in the room where we left the hacked eye. Good day, I'm looking for this Justiciar. I'm tired of hearing about this Justiciar. His popularity among the city's younglings is quickly becoming a cause for concern. Try as we might to refute his claims that the Radiant Host are allowing monstrous beasts to run amok unchecked. You know how young minds are. Impressionable and slow to change one's set. We initially disregarded him as a boastful eccentric, but his alarming sway over the populace can no longer be ignored. We are at present considering whether to open a formal investigation into his activities. You and this ally of yours have done well in your search thus far. You even have a working theory about the falling stones. Quite impressive. Several of our number have encountered him during their patrol, only to lose sight of him under a hail of rocks. Such incidents have become all too frequent. Many in our ranks demand we act. For now, I'm afraid this is all the help I can offer. Please share what I've told you with your companion, and together we may unmask the Justiciar. How's it going, Tepeke? It's heartening to know that the Radiant Hosts are taking this seriously. Thank you for speaking with them, Desiree. I've got tidings as well. I explained the situation to the alchemists, and they provided a powder that should help detect traces of magic in the surrounding environment. I say help because the powder reacts only faintly on its own. To function properly, it requires the skill of one practicing the arcane arts. Luckily, I have you. I've committed the locations of all sightings of Justiciar to memory. The closest to us was at the perfumed rice. Let's hope the powder works as intended. So close to the great work, okay. The Justiciar was sighted near here, and I didn't see any other conspicuous stones around, so I sprinkled the powder over this one. Now concentrate your focus or inner eye or whatever it is that's the locus of your power, and see if you can detect any unnatural forces. Go ahead. would say that's positive. So, were you able to detect anything? I was. Definitely magic. I'm pretty strong. I knew you could do it, but because there's no crystal in the work where energy detected, must be remnants of some kind of spell, is that right? And taking the story of a radiant rescued previously into account, you can conclude that the Justiciar uses a treasure to call those stones down from the sky. Yes? At least we now have an inkling of its true nature. Even so, not every question has been answered. The Radiant told us that even as the Justiciar stood before the creature, he seemed to have trouble calling forth the Apex's power at first. My father once said that the Perge of the Apex is much like the wand he used to weave his magics. Of course, the main difference between them is the unique nature of the essence stored within the treasure. I know little of such arcane instruments, but you must be quite familiar with them. How do you use yours? I channel Aether into it. You see, even with the right instrument, spellcasting requires the use of specific techniques. The Justiciar seems to lack any such expertise. So how did he tap into the treasure's power? I suppose the Perge of the Apex possesses some unique method of activation? When I spoke to the representatives of the other tribes about their treasures, no one mentioned special techniques being required. Not that the relics should have much in common to begin with. Yudo, did you see an Ori girl pass through here by herself? I'm afraid not. What happened? Wait, I recognize you both. The hero of the final days and our recent visitor from Tyral. Apologies for the imposition, but may I beg your assistance? It's all Mr. Justiciar's fault. That girl said she was off to join that fool's crusade and ran out of Yedlimat before anyone could stop her. Her mother begged us to find her, but if she's following Justiciar, she could be anywhere. You see, he's been sighted at locations scattered all over Thavnair. We can't stand here looking at rocks while a girl is in danger, especially if the Justiciar is involved. We have to help. Let's do this then. That would be much appreciated. We're searching places where the Justiciar has been spotted before, so perhaps you could start where he hasn't been seen? Good idea. As far as I know, he hasn't been sighted in the northern shores. Come on, Desiree. Now, game logic, of course, but if you think about it practically, anywhere along the northern shores of this island nation is pretty vague direction. Okay, Balloon Hams actually it's not it. Deeper? Tepeke is here at least? I don't see her anywhere. I hope she's safe. Let's hope for the best. I've had fighting, so I came as fast as I could. It's a good thing you arrived in time to save a girl. Thank you, miss. Thank you. I'm glad you're safe, but your mother must be worried sick. You shouldn't wander off like that. Especially not to look after a trickster like the Justiciar. What? You mean he's a bad man? Yes, exactly. He stole an important treasure from my village, and now he's using it to make himself look brave. But he needs to kill the monsters to protect us. That's no excuse for stealing. He might have fooled you younglings, but the Radiant host know what he's up to. But he said he'd save us from a monster. He's our hero. The Radiant said we shouldn't be scared, but we all know that Justiciar is the one who keeps us safe. We don't need the Radiants anymore. No hero can save the world alone. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say bad things about the Radiants. They protected everyone in the final days. I guess I forgot how much they care about us. I'm sorry too. I shouldn't have spoken to you like that after all you've been through. You said the Justiciar is a thief and a trickster, but I hope it's not true. He's my hero. Well, I'd best escort her back to Yedlimat. I'll meet you there later, Desiree. See you then. So, where are you? Ah, there. The girl and her mother are reunited, and I think we can both give ourselves a pat on the back. We're on their way now, to inform the Radiant host that all is well. I would like to apologize for before. I let my emotions get the better of me and harangued that poor girl when she was hardly to blame for anything. I really should have been scolding myself. Desiree, there's something I neglected to tell you before. The man who now calls himself a Justiciar came to us in the guise of a worldly merchant. He was eager to ask about the Perge of the Apex and its history. I was equally eager to tell him, not even considering what he might do with the information. I'm so proud of my father for being appointed as his guardian. I suppose I was trying to impress this stranger out of sheer vanity. But vanity led to my father being attacked and the treasure being stolen from under our nose. I have no choice but to make amends for my mistake and bring it back. Yet some are convinced that Justiciar acts only to serve the greater good. I couldn't accept that he might not be as rotten as I thought, and lashed out at the wrong person. From now on, I can't let my emotions cloud my judgment. I must remain calm and look at the facts for what they are. The facts say that the Justiciar has done no harm to the people of Thavnair. Even so, the organization he serves, the Passage of the Unbound, is evil to its very core. If his actions at my village are not villainy, I don't know what is. The situation is fraught with contradictions. I still don't know what to think. What about you, Desiree? Even if he hasn't attacked anyone, his actions are stirring unrest. I agree. He speaks of justice and heroism with great bluster. Yet there's something we're missing. Thank you, Desiree, for your wise words. I sometimes find it difficult to keep my heart from skewing my perspective, so I'm grateful that you're here to help me see clearly. So it seems our objective is unchanged. We track down the man who stole my people's sacred treasure. Whatever his intentions may be, unraveling them comes secondary to finding the man himself. I continue to pour my every effort into the search, so stop by from time to time and I may have something new to share with you. The seeds of popularity. Desiree, I hope you've been well. Since last we spoke, the Justiciar has been busy felling fiends all across Thavnair, leaving a trail of witnesses behind in his wake. More than a few have reported seeing stones falling from the sky, which all but confirms our theory that the treasure is causing the phenomenon. The stories share one more peculiar commonality. It seems the pests he hunts have all been of the seedkin variety. Why he avoids beasts of flesh and blood is yet a mystery. It bears mentioning that each of these eyewitness accounts came from people who were rescued by the Justiciar, who invariably appears just as these creatures attack. In fact, the Justiciar has been there to save the day in every single instance of seedkin-related mischief. Awfully suspicious if you ask me, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. Some among the Radiant hosts have suggested that the Justiciar is planning these assaults somehow, so he alone can reap the glory from thwarting them. I agree, and think this should be our next venue of investigation. Alright. Many of these incidents occurred near the Giant Skull grounds, so we should start our search there. If we can find one of these monstrous plants before it finds helpless prey, we may be able to shed light upon the Justiciar's methods. Time is of the essence, so let's leave at once. Any moving bushes? Slithering vines? Not here in any case. Desiree, I'll search for western path. Why don't you search east? If you see something, don't strike to kill. Weaken it. Then catch it with this rope. We'll learn much more from a life specimen. Alright. Oh, marble seedling. A cultivated marble seedling. I guess we have it now. I see plenty of fauna roaming about, but the flora all seem to be of a rooted to the ground variety. Perhaps my hunch was incorrect? Well, I got a marble seedling. You found one. In fact, this is exactly as an eyewitness described. Why don't you keep it for the time being? Bring it to the Great Work, and I ask my acquaintance there to examine it with all haste. Miss Alchemist and I spoke briefly the last time I was here. Give her the little seedkin you caught, and we'll see what she makes of it. Mr. Tepeke told me what to expect. Well then, let's see the thing. Oh, I didn't expect it to be so diminutive. If Mr. Tepeke's intuition is correct, then I expect some interesting discoveries are in store. You've brought me quite a fascinating specimen indeed. I can say for certain that this creature's growth isn't natural in the slightest. Biologically, it's still but a sapling, as you can tell by its size. Yet it is the result of a specific alchemical mixture which is used to spur growth of seeds and mycelium to an unnatural degree. The agents have a side effect of making the creatures more aggressive, which explains why such a small specimen would so boldly attack beings larger than itself. Yet the solution requires ingredients most rare, and the cost of procuring enough to synthesize it would be beyond the means of most. So whoever is behind us were likely well heeled. Indeed. As for the creatures themselves, if they're all grown artificially, perhaps that explains why most of the incidents involved small seedkin. Rather than wait for them to mature naturally, the Justiciar must have accelerated their growth so that he could deploy huge numbers over a short span of time. In fact, his plan likely requires very small, weak foes in order to guarantee his victory. After all, the great Justiciar can hardly be expected to bear the blemish of defeat. With these new details brought to light, it's almost certain he's staging these attacks on the common folk. Now we have a new perspective to guide our search. Perhaps we should return to Jedlimat. Here the Justiciar is the talk of the village, and they doubtless have stories to share. A splendid idea. Thank you. Your findings have brought us a step closer to unmasking that villain. Let's hurry to Jedlimat. The more accounts we have of a Justiciar, the better our chance of predicting his next move. I only hope that my analysis aids you in finding the answers you seek. Back in Jedlimat, let's ask around. Oh, you're hungry to learn more about Justiciar. He's amazing. I was lucky enough to catch a glimpse of him on the road leading here, facing down a fearsome creature. I don't know how he did it, but he called down rocks from the sky to knock that thing flat. The Radiant host were away on patrol, so if he hadn't come to our rescue, that brute would have marched right into our homes. He shouted that he was the savior of Rosatan and even waved at me. Oh, he looked so impressive, the sun shining behind him. Don't tell me you've come chasing that half-baked savior. The younglings might be taken by his honeyed words, but anyone with experience can see that he's nothing but a charlatan. I have a story to prove it. A merchant I know took a tumble as he was transporting his goods. Not long after comes the Justiciar, looking chivalrous as you please in his shining armor. But did he offer a helping hand? No, he ran off with an area glance backward. He may go on about slaying beasts, but a real hero would never ignore someone in need, even if they're just suffering from scraped knees and a bruised ego. Not the most convincing story if someone is already in on him, but... banditry. Rest assured, the Radiant hosts are well aware of Justiciar. Every day we receive more reports of him combating beasts in the surrounding wilderness. These encounters are never on well-traveled roads, it seems. They occur in remote regions which we scarcely patrol, along routes that are only used by a small number of merchants and porters. We conclude that Justiciar either has uncommon knowledge of the behavioral pattern of these creatures, or that he keeps close company with a merchant who travels those obscure paths. Desiree, do you have a moment? I have a little trouble here. I sought this merchant out because I was told he dealt with alchemists in the great work. I thought he might know something about the Justiciar, but when I asked well, he's been like this ever since. I apologize, I was just surprised that you'd ask me about that madman. What connection could you possibly have with me? The fiends he fights are grown with rare alchemical materials, and you think he may be staging these encounters. Since you deal in such wares, I wondered if you might know how he came into their possession. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I've never spoken to that man. I very much doubt that. Perhaps be more receptive to questioning from you, Desiree? He seems to have intimate knowledge of trade routes and alchemy. Who taught him, I wonder? Come now, any merchant with a nose for profit has good relations with the alchemists. By your way of thinking, any one of us could be in league with Virazan. Virazan, you said? Who is that, may I ask? What? Did I... No. That's my name, huh? I'd be a fool to continue this charade any longer. My son, Virazan, is the one you know as the Justiciar. To be suddenly confronted with its litany of misdeeds, I lost my composure. You're his father, then? Do we know how he came into possession of such rare materials and knowledge? Aye, he stole them from me. My most valuable materials and my precious maps. Yet I was the one who chose to hide the fact, and I bear the blame for the consequences. What can you tell us about him as a person? Virazan was obsessed with tales of legendary heroes, even from a young age. I paid a great deal of money to have him tutored in the art of a bow. He became quite skilled at it, in fact, but not quite as skilled as his arrogance led him to believe. Due to this, and perhaps a lack of ambition, he never aspired to true greatness. Instead, he came to rely upon fanciful equipment and exotic potions, rather than owning what skills he had. It pains me to see him fall into dissoluteness, but he would brook no counsel. So several years ago I gave him enough coin to support his lavish lifestyle and told him never to speak with me again. He didn't. Until but recently, when he darkened my doorstep once more. And that was when he stole your goods. Aye, although I would have willingly given them if he had but asked. He was rambling almost incoherently. Says that his heroic deeds as the Justiciar had caught the eye of someone named Apiai, leader of a Passage of the Unbound, whoever they are. He claimed that under the guidance of his newfound allies, he had obtained a great power. Power enough to eclipse all heroes who have come before and shall come after. As he put it, it seems he gives what money still has to these people. To think that for all his fanciful worlds he has only deigned to grasp at hollow glory, all at the expense of Razatan, is no greater shame as a father. Given what we know of his shadowy group, they most likely aim to sow discontent through Virazan's deeds. He may be so blinded by his own desire for adoration that he can't see whose hands are pulling the strings. That seems likely. You're saying that he's being used. That's true when I can no longer remain silent, despite what shame it may bring. I see now that sharing my story might be the only way to save my son. Indeed, I suggest you tell the Radiant host at once. Of course, we'll be pouring our every effort into stopping him. Thank you for giving me direction. I didn't imagine our meeting would end this way. Truth be told, I'm not entirely unsympathetic towards Virazan. I bask in my father's reflected glory while having none of my own to speak of. The glory Virazan seeks is similarly false. I too shall visit the Radiant House and have him spread word of the Justiciar's true nature. If the people are wise to his trickery, they will be far more likely to aid us. He'll soon learn that a legend built on lies is no match for true heroism. Good. A little longer. Floundering fame. Greetings, Desiree. Virazan's father has been as good as his word and has confessed the truth of his son's actions to whoever will listen. Even when we were younglings, far fewer sing the Justiciar's praises. The tide is turning in our favor at last, and the Radiant hosts are making ready to tighten the net. Speaking of which, we had curious news to share. They've been examining the stones left behind by the Justiciar and noticed a pattern. They were all varieties of rocks commonly found near the site of each encounter. For instance, near the Giant Skull grounds, the Justiciar seem to have called down a hail of what else but Giant Skull. I have my own theories about what this means, but I'd like to hear your thoughts, Desiree. It's safe to say the artifact doesn't create rocks from nothing. Indeed, the Perge of the Apex likely lifts whatever stones are nearby and brings them crashing down to Earth. If our suspicions are correct, we are one step closer to unraveling its mysteries. But despite these favorable developments, the Justiciar's popularity remains a problem. Even with a recent blow to his credibility, his most ardent followers still idolize him. In fact, Aye is sending letters to the young of Razatan, for their contents are a closely guarded secret. All the more reason to investigate, don't you think? Once we get to Razatan, if I question people around the marketplace, could you cover the city's western quarters? That's where the younger followers tend to gather. After we've collected enough information, let's meet to share our findings. See you again in Razatan, Desiree. Alright. The Justiciar gave me that invitation himself only for some thief to snatch it right out of my hand. Huh? You believe in the Justiciar too? Well, I didn't have a chance to read the whole letter before it was stolen, but he's gathering his most devoted for a special audience. The bastard who stole my invitation is clearly up to no good. He muttered something about getting revenge, but who could hate someone so noble? Yeah, I know about the letters. Me and my friends didn't get one though. The grown-ups get angry if we talk about the Justiciar. But guess what? I heard Zashal talking about him over by Marit's Mehan. He had a big grin on his face too. Does that mean the Justiciar isn't a bad man like the grown-ups say? Maybe, but he might grin for all kinds of reasons. Oh, you're the one who's always following that Tepeke around. I heard she's spreading rumors about the city's savior. I won't let her harm his reputation any more than she already has, so I have nothing to say to her lapdog. The most useful clue points to the merchant Zashal having some connection to Verzan. He was last seen near Merit's Mehan. Zashal. Wasn't he the guy who we encountered in the Endwalker patches, who sold Estinian that treasure map to a way too high price, and when we didn't get to keep the treasure because it was already Varshan's and all that? Wasn't that him? Yeah, that's him. It's true what they say, a fool and his gill are soon parted. At it again? Huh? Why, if it isn't one of the heroes of Final Days, this isn't about the map I sold to your companion, is it? You find it points away to the vault of Azula III, exactly as described. I may have employed a few creative methods to entice my customers, but what merchant doesn't? It's not about the map. You're not, of course. Why would you be? Well, what can I do for one of our vaunted heroes? The Justiciar. You're after the Justiciar. Your choice of quarry is unusual to say the least. But perhaps I can help you along, eh? A young man came asking for a map to open the way to Thavnair. I sold him every map I had, assuring him that the one he needs was among them. I suppose he found it, as I hear these letters which were handed out contain a copy of a map. I dare say that young fellow was the Justiciar himself, and he's planning a clandestine meeting in the Thavnair canals. Mind you, it appears he has no shortage of enemies. No doubt they tried to interfere. What are you saying? Thankfully, Razatan isn't known for large-scale criminal organizations, but it hasn't kept the less scrupulous citizens from dirtying their hands when times are desperate. From what I hear, bandits seeking to rob trade caravans keep running into the Justiciar doing his fiend-felling exploits, causing their raids to end in failure. Like as not, they'll try to infiltrate his group of followers and settle the score. And that's where my knowledge of the matter ends. If you're wondering where the meeting place is, all I remember is that the spot marked on the copied maps is somewhere in the Shroud of Thamnair. So, does it answer your queries? For now, yes. Thank you. The location is somewhere in the Shroud of Thamnair. I can't remember much beyond that. So could you stop bothering me now? Those in support of the Justiciar didn't seem surprised when I told them of his misdeeds. But still, they were reluctant to betray him. In short, I have no luck. What about you, Desiree? Your investigative abilities never cease to amaze me. As for this gathering Viverzan is planning, I expect it's some scheme to prop up his flagging popularity. Even so, many of his devotees are younglings ill-equipped to make the perilous journey to the meeting place. If they have any sense, rather than attempt to travel there directly, they stop at settlements along the way to rest and confirm the route. You said the map led into the Shroud of Thamnair, yes? That means Palaka's Stand is the closest settlement. I hear many took refuge there during the final days. It's now a bustling town in its own right. The arrival of more people would hardly raise eyebrows, making it the perfect place to avoid unwanted attention while they make ready. They would head there before they leave on the final leg of their journey. Alright. But I think I end the episode here and we continue there next time. Until then, I'm Mace and don't get lost.